Hobart head coach T.W. Johnson, you've had your team back on campus for about a month now. You had your first scrimmage over the weekend. Go ahead and give us your assessment of the preseason and how it shaped up and how you see things going for your team this season.
The preseason's gone well for us. We came back to campus about 10 days before classes start, and that gave us ample time to get some extra practices in before classes started. And I think a lot of the credit for a good preseason certainly has to go to our captains and our seniors. I think they've done a great job over the last month and during the fall semester too of getting our team ready for the first game of the year on February 16th. So we feel like we have a solid foundation in place. I think as any team this time of year would tell you, we still got some work to do and in preparation for that first game, but we feel like we're in a pretty solid spot right now.
Are there any major differences between this year's team compared to last year?
I think a couple differences. I think overall we're probably a little bit more athletic than we were a year ago, and I would say we're a little bit deeper as well. And I think that's been through stacking up a couple good recruiting classes on top of each other, and we feel like we can go a little bit deeper, particularly on the defensive end, than we could last year. And I would say our depth in the midfield is a little bit better than it was a year ago as well. So I think we're in a good spot, and obviously we don't want injuries, but if for some reason we have to miss a player due to injury, we feel like we have people that are ready to step up and fill those shoes.
Inside Lacrosse rated your current group of first years as one of the top 20 classes in the nation. Who in that group has really stood out so far in the preseason?
Sure. Frank Brown for Silver Creek High School, just south of Buffalo, I think has had an outstanding first month to the spring semester. Athletic, runs well, brings a little bit of a box style of lacrosse out to the field, and I think he's going to be a name that Statesman fans are going to learn to know and enjoy watching him play during his 4 years. And on the defensive end, I would say Luke Miller's had a good start. He's a very good position defender. He's strong, physical on the ball. So I think those two are off to a great start. But overall, as a class, we feel very confident in this group. And I think as the season goes, we're going to see more and more of that freshman group making an impact in our program.
The ECAC is widely considered to be one of the top conferences in the nation, with so many teams that are capable of cracking the top 20 in the nation, making a run in the NCAA tournament. How do you see this year's race to the conference championship shaping up?
I think the conference race will probably go down to the last weekend of the regular season. I firmly believe the ECAC is one of the top leagues in the country from top to bottom, and I think probably any coach in our league would tell you if you don't show up and play well on game day, there's a chance the other team's going to beat you. And I don't think this year is any different. So I think the race to see who are going to be the top 4 teams advancing to the ECAC conference tournament will probably go down to late April, and hopefully we can have multiple teams that get into the NCAA tournament and make a good run at the national championship.
You mentioned the ECAC tournament, which, by the way, May 2nd and 4th at Hobart College. Is there some added incentive for your players this season? Have you talked about that at all in the preseason, about making it that tournament field and being at home?
We have. I think, again, I don't think we're any different than any other program out there. We want to advance to the postseason, and the first step of the postseason is a conference tournament, and then if you're fortunate enough to do well there, the next step would be the NCAA tournament. But I think having that conference tournament on campus is certainly great incentive. We'd love to play in our conference tournament in front of our home fans. This is a town that has a great lacrosse history, not only at Hobart College but in the city of Geneva. So I think it can be a great event for us to host in early May.
Lastly, you touched on a little bit with the first question, but talk a little bit about the senior leadership on this team and your captains. You also have one junior in that group, but talk about the leadership that you have going into the season.
Sure. Well, this senior class was my first recruiting class when I took over as head coach at Hobart, so it's certainly a special group to me. And you know, our captain Sean Regan, Jake Silverluck, Ryan Korn, and Cam Stone, I think, have done a really good job. Again, of putting the team in a position to be successful this spring. But I think in any good team with any good program, the overall senior class is really important, and this year's senior group has been fantastic. So while we have great leadership from our captains, they're getting support, and a lot of support from their fellow seniors, and leading in different ways, whether it's speaking up in the locker room or leading by example in the field at practice in terms of energy and effort. We've been really pleased as a coaching staff with the leadership and demeanor of this senior group. It's really been a fun year because of them.